evening. Welcome to Exodus Now. We are following a developing story out of the Midianite wilderness. A startling encounter reported near Mount Horeb. A man believed to be Moses, the fugitive prince of Egypt, claims to have heard the voice of the Almighty from within a bush consumed by flame.
That's right, Rachel. The incident, which eyewitnesses say began early this morning, has drawn spiritual shockwaves across the region. The so-called the burning bush event is unfolding even as we speak.
Tonight we ask, who is calling Moses? What message is being delivered? And what could it mean for the enslaved Hebrews still toiling in Goshen?
Thank you, Rachel. We are here live at what is now being called the Mountain of Encounter. Behind me, you can see that very burning bush continues to blaze without consuming itself. And just moments ago, a voice, authoritative and resonant, called out from within, "Moses, Moses." We've confirmed that Moses removed his sandals and fell to the ground. The voice, which he identified as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, proceeded to deliver a message, not just for Moses, but for all of Israel.
Do we know what that message was?
Yes, Ben. In Moses' own words, the voice said, "I have seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cry. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out."
So the wilderness has spoken. A divine mission has begun. But is Moses a shepherd? A fugitive? The right man for such a task?
That's the question, Ben. And after the break, we'll dive into what happened next. A name never spoken before, revealed in fire. Stay with us. Welcome back to Exodus Now. As the encounter at Mount Horeb continues, we're learning more about what Moses was told and whom he was speaking to.
What we are hearing now is astonishing. When Moses asked, "What is your name?" the voice from the bush responded with something never heard before in the Hebrew faith. A phrase translated as, "I am that I am." The God of Israel has named himself I Am. Scholars are already calling this a theological earthquake.
To help unpack this, we will hear what Ben Eli discussed with our language analyst, Dr. Eliezer Oded, when they met at the Institute of Sinai Script.
Thank you, Rachel. I learned a lot from Dr. Oded. For example, the name given, I Asher I, literally means I will be what I will be. It's both a name and a promise. In our syntax, it implies continuous presence and changing being. This is a personal name, but also an eternal one. It reveals God as self-existent, ever-present, beyond the limits of past or future. So the one who sends Moses is not just a distant deity, but a being who is.
And more than that, a God who sees, hears, and responds to suffering, a rescuer.
Still to come, what Moses did not want to hear, "You will go to Pharaoh." His reaction? Reluctance, doubt, and a string of excuses.
That's next on Exodus Now. Stay with us as we return to the mountain. Welcome to our panel, where we explore the intersection of divine call and human fear. Today's question: why would a holy God choose a hesitant man like Moses?
It's consistent with God's character. He reveals himself not in palaces but in wildernesses. God's holiness doesn't repel the unworthy, it redeems them. When he says I am, he's not just naming himself, he is anchoring Moses in something eternal.
And you know, guys, one thing that I've learned as I'm walking out here, mingling with folks in these bushes, let us not overlook the setting. A burning bush in the wilderness, that's not random. Fire that doesn't consume, that's the visual of a God who refines, not destroys. Moses didn't just stumble upon the bush waited for him. That's divine patience, guys.
Leadership isn't born from confidence, it is born from encounter. Moses' excuses, every leader has them. But the call isn't about being ready, it's about being willing to return, even to the place of your greatest failure.
Let's talk about names. The study guide notes that God's name connects to his faithfulness to the patriarchs. How important is memory in this moment?
Essential. God says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's grounding Moses in history, but he is also doing something new. The personal name, Yahweh, marks a shift from what God has done to what God will now do. This moment is covenant reactivated.
And guys, something else that I've learned here, let us also not forget that he remembers the people. I have seen, I have heard, I know is what they say that he says. The God of fire is also the God of tears.
That's leadership DNA, hearing the cry, then being sent into it.
Final thoughts. What does this ancient fire mean for us now?
Sometimes the fire speaks when we are least expecting it. The holy calls in ordinary places.
Rachel, what the people are telling me here is that, or what they've told me here is that you may feel like the desert disqualifies you, but God uses deserts to ignite destinies.
And if you're afraid, good. So was Moses. The real question isn't, are you ready? It's, will you go even when you're not?
Amen. And after the break, we follow Moses' first steps on this mission, not alone. Welcome back. Tonight, Exodus Now opens the Resistance Files, an exclusive look into the most reluctant prophet ever recorded. When faced with a divine commission from the burning bush, Moses didn't leap into action. He hesitated 5 times. Moses' first objection? Self-doubt. The man raised in a palace, who once tried to liberate his people by force, now claims he's unworthy to lead.
Then he shifts the focus to God. What shall I say to them? Scholars suggest that this wasn't theological curiosity. It was delay. But here, God responds with one of the most profound revelations in history. I am who I am.
This one's relatable. Moses feared rejection. God responds with signs: a staff turned serpent, a leprous hand healed. Evidence that Moses will not go alone.
Here, Moses claims a speech impediment or lack of fluency. But divine mission, it seems, doesn't require perfect diction, just obedience.
By now, we've moved from hesitation to defiance. Moses is out of arguments. The text says God's anger burned against Moses. Yet, even then, God makes a concession. He appoints Aaron as a mouthpiece.
The resistant fires remind us God is not looking for perfect people, only willing ones.
Still ahead, Moses returns to Egypt. Will the people believe him? And will Pharaoh even listen?
New tonight, a fugitive turns back. After 40 years in exile, Moses is returning to Egypt. His destination? A meeting with his brother and a confrontation with Pharaoh.
That's right. Sources close to the Midianite camp confirm that Moses first sought permission from Jethro, his father-in-law, a pastoral patriarch with ties to the region. Jethro approved the journey and Moses departed with his wife and sons.
The turning point came near the border of Egypt where, in a surprising development, Moses was met by his brother Aaron, a respected elder from the Hebrew community.
The reunion was more than personal. It was prophetic. According to our scroll analyst, Aaron had been divinely sent, instructed by God to meet Moses in the wilderness.
The brothers immediately shared the vision, God's plan, the signs, the call. Then, with Aaron now the official spokesperson and Moses as the empowered messenger, they made contact with Hebrew elders.
The elders believed. For the first time in generations, hope walked into Goshen not as a rumor, but as a reality. So far, the plan is unfolding. The deliverers are united, but not everyone will celebrate his homecoming.
That's right. In our next segment, Pharaoh responds and is not making room on the calendar for liberation.
Stay with us as Exodus Now continues.
We're just receiving word from Goshen. The Hebrew leadership has officially endorsed the return of Moses and Aaron. After witnessing a series of divine signs, tribal elders are reuniting under the message, freedom is coming.
This moment marks a critical shift. What began as a voice in the wilderness has now become a movement in the heart of Egypt. But not everyone is bowing.
Our sources near the palace report increased security around key Nile crossings. Royal scribes have been summoned for late-night consultations. And according to one palace guard, the name Moses is not to be spoken aloud.
This is the same Pharaoh who once signed the order to drown Hebrew infants. Now he faces the man who survived it, not as a runaway, but as a messenger of God.
In our next episode of Exodus Now, Moses stands before Pharaoh. And the question is no longer, who am I? It's who is the Lord that I should obey him?
Before the fire, Moses was silent. After the fire, he had a mission. The burning bush was not just a sign. It was a turning point. A quiet shepherd became a voice for the voiceless. A reluctant heart became a vessel for divine deliverance.
And it didn't happen because Moses was strong. It happened because he showed up. Sandals off, defenses down. He argued, he hesitated, he even begged to be excused. But still, God called him.
Viewers at home, maybe you're standing at your own burning bush moment. A calling you didn't expect. A path that scares you. What if the question isn't, am I ready? What if the question is God with me?
Because that was the real answer all along. I will be with you.
Next time, we follow Moses and Aaron into the lion's den, a meeting with Pharaoh that does not go as planned. Until then, from Goshen to Midian, from bushfire to broadcast, this is Exodus Now.